Welcome to P3 Radio.
The monkey only dances as good as the guy grinding the organ handle.
Demolition! We're coming for you, baby!
That was my moment of I carried a watermelon.
And if you're going to call me back tomorrow, whatever,
You better believe I took my turn with little teddy bear. What?
Cool story, bro.
PG3 Radio.
Here's your host, Josh Riley.
Ladies and gentlemen, next up we have crying little blind children.
Richard Mullican.
I don't know. Is this making any sense to anybody out there?
It's showtime! It's showtime! It's showtime!
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of P3 Radio. I'm Richard Mullican, joined by my co-host and best friend, Josh Briley. Say hey, Josh.
Well, if you're going to wrestle in Texas, you got to have Tom Prichard in the band. Today, we got Dr. Tom Prichard on the hotline.
Yeah, we're excited to have Dr. Tom with us, and we're going to have that interview up next after a word from
Score Big.
Score Big is the leading online marketplace for tickets to sports, concerts, theater, and family events.
Score Big allows you to purchase last-minute tickets to sold-out events. Also, the latest on sales of popular artists, teams, and productions. They'll get you in.
They safeguard your transaction with a 100% money-back guarantee under a secure checkout with interactive seat maps to guide your purchase.
And whether it's an Atlanta Braves game, Metallica concert, or a WWE event, they've got you covered.
Book your seats now at tinyurl.com/P3events.
That's tinyurl.com/P3events.
He speaks fluent Klingon, backwards. The best story he's ever told was to himself. Of the two women he slept with in his life, one fell asleep, the other thought he was someone else. Dogs take him for walks. He is the world's most semi-interesting man.
I don't often smoke, but when I do, I only choose Vista Vapors.
Visit them today at tinyurl.com/P3Vista.
Keep it flavorful, my friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now on the P3 Radio Hotline is former WWF Tag Team Champion, and he has wrestled all over the place. He's also a wrestling trainer that trained the likes of Kurt Angle, The Rock, Mark Henry, and many others. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, we are honored to have you here today on P3 Radio.
Well, it's an honor to be here today. Thank you for asking me. I'm always looking forward to talking to a lot of people and meeting new friends, man.
Well, we are psyched to have you. You know, of course, we followed the Memphis territory very closely because of Josh's uncle, you know, and we watched Memphis. So we've pretty much followed your career along with following Danny Davis's career.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, Danny Davis, not only one half of the Nightmares, but he was a great wrestling trainer in his own right. And, of course, Danny and I have been friends for many, many years. So fantastic, man. Yeah, Danny's a very good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, as we were speaking this very day on Saturday, the 30th of June, you do know it's Danny's birthday, right?
Oh, yes.
Most definitely. The family's been sending me pictures and, oh, look at this, look at that. And I'm so happy for him. It's 66 today.
Wow.
Right. Well, he's having a good time, no doubt.
Oh, more than likely.
He's down there in Florida now, living it up.
Living it up.
Well,
yes, he is. I think he's in St. Pete. Yeah, having a good time.
Well, you know, speaking of training and OVW and Danny and all of that, we hate to start on such a somber note, but we we didn't have this in our original questions, but, you know, the wrestling world kind of got hit with a shock yesterday with Matt Capitelli passing away, losing his battle to cancer. And I tell you, this guy was just he had the look. You know, I didn't know him personally, but he seemed like a nice kid. Did you have any interactions with Matt? And if so, what was those like?
Yeah, no, I knew Matt when he first came to OVW, and I knew Matt right after he weren't tough enough. He was a great guy, great trainee, and I believe he helped train some of the guys also later on in OVW. I even wrote it on Twitter that he was somebody that you would want to strive to be like. He was passionate about professional wrestling. He was dedicated, and there wasn't anything he wouldn't do to get better. So, yeah, it is a tragic occurrence, but that happens. Matt was a good guy, and a pleasure to be around.
Well, we'll move right into more accolades from your career, and we're going to try to ask you questions. We know you've probably gotten these 100 times, and we apologize in advance. So, but we'll try to ask them in a different way if we can. But question that you've probably gotten a lot: where did the Dr. Tom name come from? I think I've read it in a book once, but where did it come from on your side of the things?
Well, Robert Fuller was the booker in Alabama, and he and Jimmy Golden were wrestling as a tag team, and there was a guy happened to be hanging around, a friend of Robert's, and he wanted to do an angle on Birmingham TV. And so one Monday night, it was Robert and Jimmy, Robert Fuller, Jimmy Golden against Tommy and Johnny Rich. And they brought this guy to ringside, or actually, yeah, they brought the guy to ringside with him. And at the end of the match, they tied up Tommy's feet to the bottom rope with athletic tape and beat the holy hell out of Johnny. Just there was blood everywhere. And then they came on to the interviews. They came up to the stage with Gordon Soley and said, all right, we want to introduce you to our doctor now, our cut man. He's Dr. Love. He's going to be on our corner from now on, and these rich cousins aren't going to get a chance to cut our pretty faces and mess our pretty faces up. So there's a hell of an angle. The show's the next Saturday, and I think on Sunday, Robert gets a call from the FBI and says, hey, we've been looking for this guy who was on your TV and want to know where he was. And Robert said, oh, well, he's just one of those guys who kind of came in and on a Monday night, and we just used him just one night. We don't know who he is, where he was. We just kind of used him for that one thing, and that's it. So I was riding with Robert and Jimmy for a while, and I used to have doctor pants where I broke my ankle in Louisville, actually, with Stan Lane. Came over and knocked me off the apron. I broke my ankle, and I wound up living with Sherry Martell and her roommate Tina, who was a nurse, and she gave me these doctor pants, doctor scrubs, and I happened to be wearing those when I was riding with Robert and Jimmy the next week. And Robert was lamenting the fact that he had this scrappy ankle and didn't know what to do. And we stopped to get a drink, and as I got out of the van, he just happened to notice they had these scrubs on. He goes, well, hot damn, boy, you can be our doctor. And from there on the way back, or on the way to whatever town we were headed to that day, probably Panama City, we talked about various things, how we could talk about me becoming their doctor. And one of the things we said, we can tell everybody that I was going to study at Baylor University and be a real doctor, except I just spent a little too much time at the pharmacy. And we laughed about that, but he actually said that on the promo. So it just happened to be that a fella wanted by the FBI was going to be their cut man, and when he made his debut, the FBI happened to be watching. And they didn't realize how much heat he had on him until then. So it was just being at the right place at the right time, actually, and that's how I became a doctor.
Wow, that's crazy to think that the FBI is watching territories at the time. But any idea why the FBI was after the guy?
Yeah, I have an idea. I just don't think I want to talk about it.
Oh, that's
fine. He was probably, let's say he was distributing, I'm going to say, distributing the substance around the South. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think he had, but yeah. He's pretty
Fair
well known.
enough. Fair enough. Well, what would you say? What is the first territory that you begin your career in?
I actually started part-time in Texas and went to Louisiana and the Arkansas territory, but the first full-time territory was actually Los Angeles, California, from Mike LaBelle, and Chavo Guerrero was the booker at that time. So Los Angeles holds a very special place in my heart.
Awesome. That's Mike and Gene LaBelle, the brothers. Were they promoting that area together at that time?
It was pretty much Mike LaBelle, and they had different local promoters, obviously, around Bakersfield and San Jose and San Bernardino and things like that. But it was Gene LaBelle was still there, but Mike was pretty much doing the majority of the promotion. Gene was an announcer and kind of hanging around.
Awesome. Well, do you have any good stories about working in Portland for Don Owen?
Well, as a matter of fact, that's where I met Brett Sawyer. Excuse me, I was going to say Bart Sawyer. Brett Sawyer, Buzz Sawyer's brother, and I got with Mondo Guerrero in Portland, Oregon, too. Everywhere I went, I had a really, really good time. But Portland was one of those places that all you had to do was show up, do your job, and enjoy the rest of the time you had off. I mean, we were working anywhere from 6 to 7 days a week, and I got to know Don Owen pretty good, and Elton Owen, and Barry Owen, and they were all very, very good people. As far as stories, once again, I don't know if the statute of limitations are up yet, so I kind of have to keep that to myself. But yeah, we had a good time, man. I lived in the Bomber, which was like a little complex. All the boys lived at. And, man, that was 1985, I believe, and I was, just still getting my feet wet and, in my fifth year in the business, and everything and anything was available to a young guy back then. And I got to tell you, I tasted all the fruit, man. Everything that was out there that was put in front of me, I couldn't say no. So there was a lot of things we did in Portland that was a really good time. Matt Bourne, Rip Oliver, Stan Stasiak, guys like that kind of helped me along.
Well, you said the Bomber. Is that the famous hotel that all the guys talk about that actually had the legit, bomber from World War II in the middle of it or something like that?
Yes, it was the Art Lacey Bomber. They had a restaurant. They had the Bomber. I don't know if it was the one that Art actually flew, but they had a Bomber over the gas pumps. They had a gas pump, everything right in front of this place, man. It was just a classic, furnished, about 20 or 25 building little apartments, man. And it was great for guys who just wanted to come in and, pay the monthly rent and not have to worry about anything else. And they had a TV, couch, bed, and the whole thing. Again, for a young guy, single and having a good time, that was the place to be. It was. They had a lot of stuff going on there.
Sweet. Well, from there, it wasn't long after you moved on to Continental, and you had a legendary feud with the Dirty White Boy. And this feud, it got so intense that at one point, the Dirty White Boy handcuffed your hands behind your back and hung you up from your neck, from the ring post. Did you guys or the company get any blowback from that segment?
Well, the thing about that was we didn't get any. Nobody really told us there was any heat, but we kind of felt it. I guess we felt it going into it because we could tell that it was a little strong. But nobody came to us and said, "Hey, man, this was a little too much."
Right.
And the thing about that too was we didn't get to rehearse it. Back then we didn't rehearse things. We just pretty much talked about it and talked about what we were going to do. But as soon as he put the noose around my neck and started pulling me down to the ring, it tightened up, and there was no way to tell him because my hands were behind my back. But I mean, it was just I was actually choking. You know, he was pretty much cutting off my air as he did that. So I just had to pretty much bear with it, and if I died, I died, I guess. You know.
Wow.
So
you know, being being 6 years old at the time and seeing that angle, I legit thought for at least a few years that the Dirty White Boy tried to murder you on, you know, Continental TV.
Right.
I mean, it was super intense.
Yeah, and here's the question, too. How bad, did you actually think that, okay, I might be in some danger here? Did you actually think this might actually be the end when you started losing, you know, your oxygen there?
You know, here's the part about this that a lot of people may not understand is no. I was pretty much no. I never thought this could be the end, although it very well could have been because he didn't know and he wasn't doing anything really any more than we talked about. So when it was happening, I was about to black out. No, I just figured, well, if I black out, hopefully somebody will come and see it. And as strange as that may sound, I mean, that's pretty much the way we felt it back then. You have to understand, too, that it was a different business at that time, and I agree at 6 years old. You know, I saw stuff like that when I was a kid in El Paso. You know, I saw it with the Funk Brothers and the the Von Brauners and the Infernos. You know, guys like that back then, they did it to make people believe. And that's pretty much what we were trying to do, too. And that was the mindset back then. We wanted everybody to at least believe what we were doing. And in order to believe it, you know, we had to believe it. So did I have any fear? No. Did I feel the pain and agony of choking to death or choking pretty close to passing out? Yeah, but that's just part of it, man. And it's part of the things that we all accepted and all pretty much knew was going to happen. I mean, nobody begged us to get into professional wrestling. That's what we wanted to do. So we were willing to do what we had to do to make it believable and real.
Most definitely. Well, the old saying is it ain't ballet, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if anything else, if he would have killed you, can you imagine the heat he would have got?
God almighty.
Yeah, what a great thing, huh?
Well,
would have saved me a lot of money, that's for sure.
Well, I think you were around for the time whenever Ron Fuller sold Continental. Did, you know, just from a backstage perspective, did things drastically change whenever Ron Fuller sold the company to David Woods?
It did in the sense that Eddie Gilbert became the booker, and obviously Robert, Jimmy, Bob Armstrong, and everybody else who were co-owners didn't appreciate it very much because then they were, you know, they sold part of their business now. So yeah, I mean it was a little different. You also had Paul Heyman coming in to help Eddie, and it was a different vibe. But I mean it wasn't a bad vibe for again a young guy being there and wanting to wrestle all the time because Eddie had a wrestling mind and Eddie wanted to be aggressive. In fact, the angle with White Boy hanging me was our idea. Actually, we presented it to Eddie because I had actually seen an angle with Nick Bockwinkel in El Paso against a guy named the Hangman, who had a match on TV one night. Excuse me, and started taking the news to his opponent, and Nick Bockwinkel came in the ring to break it up, and then the Hangman put the noose around Bockwinkel's neck and beeled him from corner to corner, and it just looked brutal. So I suggested that, and then we kind of added the handcuffs and the dragging and the black eye to Kim, you know, as he went along. But so I mean, there was a different mood in the sense that you know, Eddie was trying to be a little more aggressive and a little more daring, I guess, and in that sense, you know. But for the most part, it was a pretty good vibe, and everybody was on board.
Right. You wrestled in USWA in Texas and was part of a group with Tojo Yamamoto, Eric Embry, and Steve Austin. Now, I know you probably get the Steve Austin thing a lot, but we want to know what it was like because, like I said, we're from the South. We want to know what it was like teaming with Eric Embry and Tojo.
Once again, Embry came in, and I knew his history in Texas, and of course he was booking in Memphis too. And we would ride down to Dallas every Thursday night after a spot show. Jerry Jarrett had a tour bus for us, and we'd all get on the bus and ride into Dallas at the Sportatorium on Friday morning, and the babyfaces would go train at the gym. The heels either hang out and sleep or find some other nefarious ways to spend their time. So Tojo was great. Eric at that time was a very good guy to me too. He didn't have to put me with him, and I think he knew it'd be better to have me pissing inside the tent than pissing outside the tent. So he brought me in, and I was glad of that. Austin, you always knew there was something special about him, but again, I don't think anybody could have told you he would have been as big a star as he became at that time. We knew he was special because he had that dedication and that passion to get better. So in that sense, you knew it. Eric was, like I said, to me, he's always decent, and so was Tojo.
Well, one of my favorite feuds all time in wrestling was the Tennessee versus Texas thing in USWA. I mean, that was a crucial time just in my youth because, I mean, that was a time where I was like a super duper fan. Yeah. Every Saturday morning I got to set an alarm to wake up and, watch what's happening at 10 a.m. You and Eric Embry were the top heels in the Texas bunch at that time. Now, just on the concept of Tennessee versus Texas, I mean, who came up with all that?
That was Eric, man. I mean, Eric wanted to do the, he was from Kentucky originally, but I think he adopted Texas as his home state because it's so much better and bigger. But also, I think he just loved the folklore of Texas, So that was an Eric Embry idea all the way, which was good because, again, you had these loudmouth Texans talking, and you had a bunch of Tennessee people. Like Tony Anthony's very, very pro-Tennessee, so was Eddie Gilbert, so was everybody else, man. So, I mean, that made it that much better. And anytime you have a rivalry like that, like Tennessee and Alabama, it's just something that the more you rub it in somebody's face, the better it is, and that was the way we did it. So we had a good time doing it, too. Again, we were doing stuff like, we would bleed almost every single night, and that got a little old, but at the same time, it just goes back to that dedication and knowing this is what you got into, and if this is what it takes to make people either believe or leave with a good show, then that's what we're going to do. So it was a cool thing to have happen.
Well, definitely. Just speaking, just freely, I mean, whenever you and Eric Embry and Tojo and all them were out there, I mean, as a kid, you kind of just half-assed pay attention to certain things, but whenever it was, you and Eric, say Miss Texas and Tojo, it was time to pay attention. I mean, you guys, your promo skills as a heel, it really related to me. I mean, I fully believed in what you were saying. And Monday night, that was the reckoning point.
Well, once again, I feel like we believed what we were saying too, and that's all part of it, and that's part of the thing. Nobody wrote promos for us. We just knew who we were going to work with that night, and you went out and you got to have fun saying what you normally wouldn't say, and get people mad. So if we did that, that was great. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But for the most part, we got to go out and live our dream and have that good time working with our friends and going out and doing what we love to do, which was I loved being a heel because I'm more of a natural heel. I don't like people, and being a baby face was just fine. But it's so much more fun to go out and just rag on somebody or or just say something you may not mean, but just say it like you do mean it. And that was what Terry Funk did. That's what Walter McDaniel did. That's what Jerry Lawler did. My God, talk about Memphis. Jerry Lawler would go out there and he would say what he meant and meant what he said. And of course, he was an owner, but I mean, Long was one of the greatest pommel guys ever. So yeah, man. Every time we went out, we were just having fun and saying things because we knew that the Tennessee fans didn't like it. That was fun.
Well, you brought up Miss Texas, Josh. Whose idea, Dr. Tom? Whose idea was it to shave Miss Texas's head, and what was her thinking when it was pitched to her?
Well, that was all Eric, because Eric was booking, obviously. So I mean, Eric came up with the ideas, and quite honestly, man, I was just happy to have him come with ideas and say, hey, let's try this, because I wasn't going to say no to anything. But yeah, man, she was obviously on board with it because she did it.
Right.
So you got to give her credit for that too, because she was a trooper the whole way.
Now, you also mentioned Lawler, and you worked for a little bit for his territory with the Jarretts in Memphis. What was the locker room like at the time? I know you hear stories of people being upset at Lawler when he finally come to WWE, and that's a whole different topic. But what was the locker room attitude like in the back at Memphis, in the Memphis territory?
When Lawler went to WWE?
Oh, no. What was it like when you were there, when you first came to Memphis? What was the locker room like?
Oh, well, I had been to Memphis, I think, maybe 3 or 4 different occasions, and the last time was with Eric, where I got to work with Jeff Jarrett and really got to kind of, I was a little more comfortable. The first couple times, man, I really didn't care for Lawler. I didn't care for the politics. I didn't care for the vibe. And lo and behold, guess what? There's politics in life, politics everywhere.
Right.
So I just wasn't in the frame of mind I should have been in to be around that and understand that. If you were in Lawler's clique and in Lawler's plans as a booker, then you were fine. But I wasn't, and I wasn't in the clique and I wasn't in his plans. So I mean, that I'm sure made things a little bit difficult for everybody on my part.
Right.
As far as Lawler and me getting along the first couple times I was there. But the last time I was there, we worked together a few times, and I think I had learned what I needed to learn, that it's all the work, especially backstage, and that's when I learned how to just play the game. But it was a cool vibe backstage, man. It was for the most part. There's always going to be unrest and people who aren't happy about their payoffs or aren't happy about an angle or being involved or something like that. But that's everywhere you go. But Memphis, again, not a bad place to be at that time.
Yeah, and we actually, not me and Josh, but I wrestled for a little while and worked with Lawler on his last run with his Memphis company. I think it folded in 2008. He called it quits, but yeah, he had his favorites, and he actually, I think he liked us because we were just these big, tall white guys that were bald that looked like we were ugly, so we were heels. So he actually liked us, so he booked us in some great angles and stuff at the time. But you could tell when he was booking and when Corey was booking, because it was like It was like a flip, and I imagine that was the way it was when him and Jarrett used to swap back and forth.
Of course, man, and that's just the way it is. I mean, every booker's going to have the guys they like, and that's the way it works. I mean, you have to. That's the real work is backstage. The in-ring stuff is really just about 10% of what this is about, and learning how to get in with the right guys backstage and who makes the decisions is how you is how you measure yourself as a great worker, and that's something I learned later on. And once I started coaching and teaching people and learning how the office works in a little more intimate level, it helped me out. I wish I would have learned that earlier in my career, earlier in life, but I didn't. So, yeah, man, that's just a fact of life everywhere you go.
Right. Well, it was the summer of '91 when you wrestled in some of the Wing Promotions' first shows in Japan. Who got you booked on these shows?
You know, that was, I can't remember his name, but I knew him. He was a magazine writer, Igobari or something like that. Mickey, I think, was his name. And Eddie was on the show. Danny was on the show. I think so was Gypsy Joe, Savio Vega, a couple other guys. Yeah, it was one of the magazine writer guys, and I can't remember his name right now. It's been a while back, and I've had a few hits to the head.
Right. Well, I think wasn't that Victor Quinones's promotion? If so, I mean,
it was.
How was he working? You know, just working for.
Victor was good. I mean, Victor was always good to us too. I met Victor. Oh man, through the years, in different places he would show up, and I always got along with him. And when we went over there, he was managing the headhunters, I believe, or not the headhunters, the guys from the Dominican Republic, bald-headed guys.
Yeah, real big guys. That was the headhunter A and B.
Okay, then it was a headhunter. Yeah, and yeah, so he was managing those guys, and he was over there. But I mean, Victor was good. Victor was always good to us, you know. And that goes back to getting along with people and having them want you to be there. And he did. So we got along great.
I think that was Gorilla Monsoon's stepson or something like that.
Something like that, man. Or they were very close. Maybe it was his godson. Something like that.
Something along that. Well,
but you'll find a lot in the business. You'll find a lot of guys. Hey, man, it's my godfather. Hey, it's my uncle. Hey, it's my nephew. That kind of stuff, you know.
Right. For years, I had no clue Larry Zbyszko was kin to Vern Gagne, you know. And then you hear, you know, when everybody started doing the interviews and stuff, you're like, oh, he's part of the family.
Of course. And how do you think you got the title? I mean, Zbyszko was good, but you know, when everybody started deserting Vern, I mean, who are you going to put it on? Your son-in-law, I think, is the best guy because he's not going to leave the territory.
Well, DJ Peterson. I mean, who else was they working as main events?
Yeah, that'd be a good choice.
You know, he had a good look and everything like that, but you know, come to.
But
promote.
He's not family. He's you know, he can't guarantee that he won't leave with the belt like Hanson did.
Right.
Well, in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, you teamed with Stan Lane and then later on Jimmy Del Rey as part of the Heavenly Bodies. You guys wrestled pretty much all of their babyface tag teams. I know the Rock and Roll Express, but one of the stories in Chris Jericho's book is about working with you guys the night he broke his arm. Do you remember anything? He broke it in training before the actual match. Do you remember anything about that match?
I just remember that we had done 4 weeks of promos prior to that match, and Chris went out he said he was going to practice the shooting star press, and Cornette jokingly said, well, just don't hurt yourself, and lo and behold, when he did, I don't know who it was that came back and told Cornette that Jericho broke his arm. Jimmy thought he was kidding. Well, Chris had gone to the hospital, and they put it in a cast. Then he came back, and Jim was just so pissed off because he had an angle laid out for the next month and all these promos in the can, and he didn't want to waste it. I know, yes, he was concerned about Chris, and no doubt about it, but at the same time, he needed this match to happen because the story was that, you know, Chris was going to bleed, and against all odds, the referee's going to call it off, and then Chris pins one of us. Well, that's what happened, but during the match, you know, he's fighting with one arm, and I know he's in pain, and he'd taken a bunch of aspirin to make the blood come too, and I just remember we got an ungodly amount of juice on it. It's all over the referee's shirt, it's over the ring, the turnbuckles, everything, and he fought. You know, he did a hell of a job, especially with a broken arm.
Right.
We did our best to take care of him, obviously, but you know, I'll give it to him because he could have said, no, I can't do it. But he did. He gutted it out, and I think he earned everybody's respect that night, you know. So, and I remember it being a hell of a match, too.
Right. Now, Jericho also talks about in his book about how everywhere he went, everybody just assumed Lance was going to be the guy that blossomed and blew up, and Jericho was good, but Lance was just better. Did you guys think that when you saw him? It's like, oh, Lance is going to be the guy that eventually, rockets up to the moon with this, and Chris is going to be good.
No, and usually I believe that is how tag teams are thought of. One guy's going to shine through, and you're going to have a Marty and a Shawn moment, I guess, if you want to describe it that way. But no, I don't think we saw Jericho as or Lance as a shining star in that team, or Jericho either way. I mean, you knew Chris had charisma. Lance was very, very good. Lance is great. But I don't think there was any time during that time where we said, Chris or Lance is going to be the star of the team. I don't think that was the case whatsoever. Well, at least let me say this. At least on my part, I can't speak for anybody else's way of thinking, but I look at them both as a great team. Together as a great team.
Right.
Well, not saying that one is better than the other. Just what was your preference in a partner? Would it be Sweet Stan Lane or Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey?
Well, here's the deal. Stan was so easy to get along with. And when we would walk in somewhere, and I went out with Stan just a couple times, because Stan was a little older than I, and he was living in Charlotte at the time. And there was just a few times when he stayed over, and we did go out a couple times. And Stan was one of those guys who walked in, he didn't make a loud noise. He just we went over to a bar or to a table, wherever it may be, and saw what gravitated towards us. He was a little laid back, and also when he got going, he got going. He was funny, he was entertaining, he was charming. He could mix into a crowd pretty good. And Jimmy was just the opposite. When we went in, Jimmy wanted to make sure everybody knew we were there, and he made a little loud noise, and he'd come in with that one tooth missing, and probably just smoked a cigarette, smelled like cigarettes, and then ordered beer or whiskey or whatever it may be, and then, hey, honey, how you doing? Hey, sugar. Hey, sweetheart. Hey, babe. That kind of stuff. And, okay, yeah, and that's fine if it's the right time, but he just dove in, and that's good to a point, but we were just two different people. I prefer to come in and kind of ease into the situation and kind of map out the lay of the land and see what was going on here in that corner over there in this little part of section here. And Jimmy would just be all over the place, man, just kind of like not a wrecking ball, man, but he just let you know that he was there. And he didn't always endear himself to everybody. Like I said, sometimes the waitress would look at him like, "Who the hell are you?" And then he'd say, "Well, hey, that bitch is being stuck up." So, no, Jimmy, just leave it alone. Stop, and he couldn't leave it alone.
Right.
So, but I liked, they were both different guys, and I saw Jimmy in August. He died in December.
Right.
3 years ago, I guess, 4 years ago. And in August, we talked in Charlotte and reconciled, and I explained, I had my issues going on too, and we both had issues going on, but we just kind of said, "How the hell with it, man?" And I'm glad everybody lived through what we lived through. And then, come December, he passed away.
Wow.
So Stan, I loved as a partner. He was great. Then when he left, because Stan had already been through the pioneering days, and it wasn't as fun for him anymore. So when Jimmy came on board, everybody couldn't say anything about his work in the ring. He was tremendous in the ring, but sometimes his backstage demeanor and out in public demeanor didn't always die.
Right. Well, I still remember that float over DDT that he used to do. It was a thing of beauty. I mean, like I said, it was just one of those just smooth. The Rock tried to do it a few times too, and I think he kind of got more of the play for it. But when I'd see him Jimmy Del Rey do that float over DDT, it was just a thing of beauty, man.
Yeah, Jimmy was a great worker. Like I said, he really knew his way around the ring, and he could do some tremendous stuff. Can't say one thing about his work, man. He was great. He was a lot more versatile than Stan was in that regard. But it was two different personalities and two different styles too. So, he was good in the sense that he would do stuff that would just get obnoxious heat, and that was great in the ring. I mean, he really was tremendous. He's a tremendous partner, inside the ring. But once we got him back at that time, there was a couple things that happened where I finally said, Jimmy, we're just going to go our separate ways. You travel with your partner, I'll travel with whatever I got. If it's somebody, if it's by myself, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
It was wearing on my health, my mental health as well as physical health, man. I couldn't do it.
Right.
Well, why was the Heavenly Bodies stay in WCW so short?
Well, because Watts, the deal was, we were going to come in and do an angle with Watts, but Bill got let go or quit. And WWF at that time, the real story is they wanted Cornette to be a spokesman for Yokozuna. He had Fuji, but Fuji was, kind of getting up in age and wasn't cutting the greatest promos those days. And anyway, they called us and asked us if we'd like to come in for SummerSlam against the Steiners and maybe have Smoky Mountain start out as a developmental territory. And otherwise we would have done the deal in WCW a little longer, but I think the deal with Watts ended, and that kind of ended, because that's the only reason Jimmy would go in, because Watts was part of it.
Gotcha. Well, after Smoky Mountain went out of business, you guys did some matches with ECW. Now, I just saw this in research. I don't even remember it happening, and I was one of those guys that followed ECW and all the other promotions, but I found this in the research. You guys did some matches for ECW. Who was the person that brought you in, and what was the crowd like in ECW?
Well, here's the thing. We only did a couple shots in ECW, but Paul wanted to bring us in as a surprise. I can't remember exactly the reason for that right now, but we were going to come in and like an invasion from WWF at that time.
Right.
And I remember we went to the ECW arena the very first time, and oh God, this was 93, 94, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember walking in, and somebody grabbed me and said, "Come with me." And for some reason, I think I have been in the arena since ECW, and I didn't see it downstairs, but I could have sworn that somebody took me downstairs somewhere, and then I looked around, and Sandman was doing his thing over there, and then Mustafa was doing his thing over here, and then you had somebody else doing their thing over here, and they said, "Come here, let me show you this." And I went over here, and I did that, and I went over there, and I did this, and I went over here, and I did that again, and I went, "Holy Christ, this is great." It was just that kind of, it was that kind of dressing room where everybody was doing their thing, but everybody seemed to be geared towards going out there and just blowing the place out, man. And we did that a couple times, man. I think the last time I did an ECW show there was when I worked with Chris in a singles match. But yeah, man, it just kind of ended up with Paul wanting to do a deal with some guys from WWF and Bruce, or it had to be Bruce, who kind of worked it out and had us go in. Plus, I think it was also to get Jimmy and Paul together and kind of get on the same page,
right?
Because they're two really brilliant minds, and I think that might have been an ulterior motive. That's just my opinion.
Well, yeah, both of those guys. It's one of the you know that there's heat between them, but you're like, man, if they could ever get along, get on the same page, and run a wrestling promotion, it would be probably the most entertaining thing in the world.
Well, it's been said before, but
it would, but at the same time, it's just like when and Cornette said this the other day. I heard it somewhere when Bill Watts came to New York to work with Vince. He left there too, telling Vince that there can only be one Titan in Titan Sports, and nobody's going to top Vince. So
Right.
the same thing with Paul and Cornette. There has to be one guy with one voice, with one decision, and they had to work. And I don't know if they could ever do that, but
Right.
I think eventually they came to respect each other and know that they both have brilliant ideas at times, and they have to know when to be able to work with others. And I think they both kind of melded over the years. I could be wrong. That's just my opinion.
Well, it's been said before, but I truly see the parallels. I mean, it's kind of like Paul E. and Jim Cornette. They're kind of one and the same. One's just kind of
One's from the north and one's from the south.
right, a Yankee and a Southern version.
North.
It's pretty much the only difference.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Paul has tremendous ideas, and still very highly regarded, as is Jimmy. I mean, even though Jim is, he has his ideas about the way the business should be, and I think he has some great points. I do know that the business has changed, and we can't go back in time and make it what it used to be.
Right.
As much as some of us would love to have it the way it used to be, it can't. Time has moved on, things evolve, business evolves, and so does sports and everything, man. So, if they could get on the same page, it would be great, and they'd probably run a great business. But you have to understand that change happens.
Right.
Well, just speaking on that plane, I mean, do you think that there'll ever be a point to where you can kind of go back to where people kind of believe, more so than what they do now? I mean, or is it just, that it's out of the box
Right.
and
Has the
it'll
bell
never
been
be
rung?
back?
Has the bell been rung and you can't unring that bell?
Yeah, exactly. I think the only guy that really has that element of danger and that element of realism to him is Brock Lesnar,
Right.
in the fact that Brock is a legit badass. But here's the thing. Brock really is a businessman. Brock understands that there are people out there that really want to believe, and he will do everything in his power to make you believe. Even the guy he's working with knows it's coming. I mean, he's gonna hit you with those elbows. He's gonna hit you with the forearms. He's gonna hit you with the suplexes. He's gonna do it. And you'll feel it, but he's gonna do it. They'll be solid, but he won't be stiff. The difference between solid and stiff: solid, you're gonna feel it. Stiff is gonna hurt you, and eventually, sometimes Brock can be stiff, and at times he means to be stiff, and you know it's coming. In other words, the times he's cut Lesnar open, or cut Roman Reigns open, and Randy, they knew it was coming, and they accepted it. That's part of being a pro. You're going to get, like you said, it ain't ballet.
Right.
And a little blood here and there, in my opinion, is pretty good. Too much blood is too much blood. Okay, I get it. We have to be less barbaric than we once were. But to go back and to have it like it used to be, the problem is you have MMA, you have UFC, you have all these other avenues people can look at to see a real fight. And that's what professional wrestling used to be billed as, a real fight. Brass knucks champion and Texas death match and things like that. Now, it's already been told, hey, it's a work, hey, we're not going to insult your intelligence, and you have the internet, and you have cable TV, so it's kind of hard to say, hey, this is the baddest guy in the world when you're looking on TV saying, well, wait a minute, this is the baddest guy in the world.
Right.
You used to be able to see Jerry Lawler in Memphis and say, man, he's a badass. Now you look at New York and you say, wait a minute, well, Hulk Hogan was a badass. Hulk Hogan's a world champion. Well, that's the problem. I mean, we're a global society, and you, in an instant, you can find out what's happening on the other side of the world. So that's why we really can't go back to presenting it as all real, even though there will be some who, growing up or watching, they say, yeah, that was real, and that wasn't supposed to happen. Well, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. We'll never know, and that's what the real part about professional wrestling, in my opinion, is keeping that mystery. You're keeping a little bit of mystery about you, and giving the fans something special to watch instead of just a choreographed routine. And that's the balancing act everybody finds themselves in today, is trying to make it where, what can we do to make people watch and come out to the show? WWE's drawing tremendous house shows. I've heard this from a lot of people. The TV ratings don't mean really anything anymore. They already signed a billion-dollar deal with Fox Sports. Whether it's a low-end station, no matter what it is, they're making billions of dollars, and that's the bottom line about making money. So the ratings don't mean anything anymore because people really don't watch TV like they used to. They watch it on their device, their tablets, their phones, or they'll watch something whenever they want to watch it. And they'll watch it for different reasons than what we used to watch it for. They're not watching because they think it's real and they want to see what's going to happen next week. They watch it for the entertainment aspect of it, or to see what's going to happen, and if something grabs them. So can it ever go back to the way it was, where people think, the only guy I see right now doing that is Lesnar.
Right.
And he's not on all the time, which is good. Don't overexpose him. And that's it, in my opinion, for right now anyway.
Right. Well, in 1995, you were a team with Chris Candido as part of the Body Donnas in WWE. Now, I assume that you liked working with Chris, but what was your relationship like with Chris? And who was it that gave you the call, and what did you think when they called and said, hey, we want you to change your look?
Well, I said absolutely not. They said, yeah, okay. And they hung up on me, and I thought, well, wait a minute. That wasn't the way it's supposed to go. See, what happened, I loved working with Chris. What happened was they were done with us in New York as the Heavenly Bodies, and I understood that.
Right.
But, I didn't want to go work on the independents. I didn't. There was nowhere else to work. So I happened to say to somebody, look, if there's anything that comes up, I'd love to do anything. Well, my phone rang about an hour later and said, okay, how about, would you like to cut your hair in a crew cut, dye it blonde, and come in as a Body Donna? I said, fuck, absolutely not. They said, okay, see you. I don't know. Well, wait a minute. And I called him back and says, well, yeah, wouldn't mind doing that. Well, of course I did. Hershey, Pennsylvania, I was waiting, got there early, and kind of kept thinking of a way to get out of it, Nothing came to mind, and then they took me to get my hair cut and dye it blonde, and I hated it. I loved loved working with Chris, but I had known Tammy since Smoky Mountain, and, she was a cute little girl, still a teenager, I guess, going to college, but she knew she was this hot little girl that everybody looked at and thought, oh, wow, she's hot. And she knew it, and she used it. And I saw the way she treated Chris, and the way she treated him backstage, and on road. I only rode with him one time, and that was enough, because it was horrible the whole way. I mean, it really was nonstop bitching the whole way, and I couldn't take it.
Right.
So, so again, that was one of those other things. I rode by myself and rode with other people, and met Chris and Tammy at the arena. But man, it was not one of my favorite moments in life. And then when they took Tammy away from us and put Cloudy with us, I mean, I'll never forget when Vince told us that, and Chris said, that's the stupidest idea I ever heard. And at the time, I wasn't going to say anything because I needed the gig. And I didn't know how else to get out of it. And I didn't say one thing, and I should have. It was terrible. It was a horrible idea. And I could see they were burying us, and it was just a miserable time in my life.
Yeah. That's probably one of my biggest pet peeves, and you've probably seen it more than I did. We had a a female that came in that had that same mentality. And actually, she just made the news. I won't say her name, but she just made the news within the last year of having a problem. And, you know, to watch somebody that comes in training, they're going through and they're getting all these opportunities because of their looks, fine. But to know that they're not willing to put the work in and actually get in there and train when we're supposed to, set up the ring with us while we're setting up the ring, those little things like that, to you, does that make you as angry as it did me?
What makes me angry is somebody who's given an opportunity and doesn't appreciate it and doesn't really want it. They just feel they're entitled. That gets me a little perturbed. It does. The thing with Tammy was just lack of respect for her boyfriend / fiance, whatever you want to call him.
Right.
To talk to him the way she did around the boys, the way she did around the office, the way she did, period, just around anybody was. Chris took it because he took it. Why? I couldn't tell. Well, yeah, I couldn't tell you because it's kind of that Stockholm syndrome. You know, you don't know anything else. And yeah, it does make me angry when people are given an opportunity and they don't appreciate it and don't recognize it. You know, I don't expect a female to put up the ring. I don't expect it, but if they at least offer, or if they at least offer to do something, I've seen girls. I mean, we had girls in FCW who helped with the ring.
Right.
Didn't have to, but they did, and they put forth the effort. So, you know, I do come from the old school. I believe in paying dues. I do. But at the same time, I do understand this is a new day and age. We can't always hold our values and compare it to others. Does that make it right? I don't know. Does it make it different? Of course. And I just don't appreciate it when somebody gets something, especially in this business, and they don't recognize it as an opportunity, and they don't appreciate it and kind of piss it away. Right.
I mean, here you are cutting your hair with a buzz cut and dyeing it blonde for the opportunity, and they're getting it handed to them and they're throwing it away. It's really sickening on my part, especially if it's like a big promotion that's giving you that opportunity.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, it goes back to knowing about the bookers and the guys making the decisions. It's just that's really just the way it is. That's not just wrestling; it's in life, man. And you find that out as you go along. It's not always fair, not always right, but it's just you learn as you live. Sometimes life ain't fair, man. Right. It just happens that way, and it's up to you to make your breaks because nobody else is going to make them for you. You have to fight for it, and if you don't fight for it, you can't expect anybody else to.
Right. Well, I know we've held you about an hour here, and we have 2 more questions if you've got time for it.
Sure.
Okay. I was a big fan of Bite This on WWE.com with you and Josh Matthews, and it seemed like you guys had really good chemistry. Did you guys get along in real life, and how much freedom did you guys have to actually talk about things on there? Like, you guys kind of went deep with some things that weren't storylines that were more real life. How much freedom did you guys have to talk about things like that?
Well, we had a lot of freedom, man, and Kevin Kelly was on there later with us, too. And, we had a lot of freedom to go ahead and talk about it, and that was the idea behind Bite This. We were going to go ahead and hit the internet with it and talk about stuff other than storylines, and that was the premise. And then as we got into it even more, you know, Kevin Kelly, I believe, came on after Josh, and that's how it was. I mean, so yeah, we pretty much were able to talk about whatever we wanted because I don't think they really believed anybody was watching it.
Yeah, it was the internet thing. Yeah, they didn't know how much internet people watched internet shows.
Right. They're finding that out now. As obviously it's grown and got a lot bigger, got a little bit bigger since then. Yeah.
And Josh Matthews, what was your thoughts on him? He was coming from Tough Enough. I actually met him like in the mall in Nashville one day. Really cool guy, laid back. How was he to work with back then? He was still really young.
No, he was a good guy, man. He was a good kid. He understood what he got into. I felt that he did, and I think Al Snow pretty much smartened him up and toughened him up a little bit before he got on there. You know, he obviously wanted to wrestle, and when he got put in the position he was put into, he took it and made the best of it.
Right.
So, you know, he was a very good guy.
Well, Without putting anybody on trial here or, naming specifics or anything, what would you say would be like one of the better ribs that you've either been a part of or had the pleasure of hearing guys tell stories of?
Wow. Well, man, you're right. Trying not to put anybody on trial or name a name. It's kind of great here. One of the. I mean, I was not a big fan of ribbing anybody because it really didn't make any sense. It was hard enough on the road, and for somebody to be ribbed, it wasn't always nice. But I remember somebody one time was on crutches, and he'd got a sandwich from Subway, and it was one of those really stinky vinegar sauce, onions, and just a horrible smelling sandwich. And somebody took his crutches and hit him, and also somebody took the sandwich and went in the bathroom and sprinkled it with some poo powder, if you will, and put it back and gave it back, and we watched him eat it. And it was a terrible thing to do, but I mean that was the worst one I've seen. There's a lot of things through the years, man, that I've either put out of my head or just totally tried to forget.
Right.
That's another one where somebody actually that happened actually somewhere here in Tennessee, where somebody had a wet fart in their underwear, and they exchanged underwear when the guy was in the ring, put that in his bag, and took his. The guy didn't even notice it, man. It was the same, everything. It was the weirdest thing, and it was the stupidest thing, but he put them on, didn't notice anything. We all went, oh, my God, this is too much. So, yeah, I mean, the other stuff, I mean, again, it sounds crazy, but statute of limitations. I'm going to laugh.
Right. Well, man, we have held you on here for about an hour. Do you have anything you want to promote, anything you want, like Twitter, Facebook, any events coming up, anything like that?
Well, I am on Twitter at Dr. Tom Prichard, and on Facebook, just go to Tom Prichard, it's Prichard, and just be watching out because we are getting ready to announce some plans. I'm not at liberty to say anything yet.
Right.
But by January of next year, we should be having a major announcement happening here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So just be watching Twitter and Facebook, and be ready for some big plans and big announcements happening next year.
Well, like I said, he has been everywhere. He's a wrestling superstar, a training superstar. We didn't even cover half the questions that we have here, so sometime we're going to have you back on. But Dr. Tom, thank you for being a part of P3 Radio today. It's been an honor talking with you.
Well, thank you very much. You have my number. If you want me back, just give me a call. Let me know when, guys. I appreciate it.
When you go shopping for wine, do you look at the labels? Do you stare at the price and wonder if the wine is worth the expensive tag? Well, stop it, because Wine of the Month Club has you covered. Every month, Wine of the Month Club is going to send you 2 bottles of high-quality wine right to your front door.
And what better way to say I'm thinking of you than a subscription to the original Wine of the Month Club for a friend or a sweetheart. Each month they'll be reminded of your thoughtfulness and will receive the monthly wine letter and newsletter binder. Recipes, wine knowledge, and great wine, and the opportunity to get more of their favorites is at hand. Give with confidence and joy, knowing that you're a part of the original Wine of the Month Club.
By the way, there are no dues, no fees, no hidden charges. Cancel anytime with no obligation. Just pay no more than $23.96 plus shipping for 2 great bottles of wine. Go there now. Sign up by visiting our link, tinyurl.com/P3wine. That's tinyurl.com/P3wine. The Wine of the Month Club, the original wine club since 1972. Well, the sound of that song means we've reached the end of today's episode of P3 Radio. We'd like to thank Dr. Tom once again for dropping by and talking to us. And if you want to follow us on Facebook, Josh, where do they go to do that?
Go to your search bar, type in Pop Poncho. You're bound to see our picture.
And if you want to follow us on Twitter,
P3 Radio, the number 1.
And of course, our email is p3radio1@gmail.com. Or you can send us a text message or a voicemail at
731-300-6675.
And as always, please go back and check out some of our archives with guys like Bill Dundee, Pete Gass, Headbanger Mosh.
Conrad Thompson
was not on the show. Headbanger Thrasher was on the show.
Headbanger Mosh, he's in there somewhere.
He's there.
I don't know why you're not finding it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you should look harder. This is more on you.
Maybe
and
you
your
should
internet
contact
skills.
Headbanger Thrasher and just ask him, can we get Headbanger Mosh on the show? That way, whenever we say that, it will be legit.
It'll be accurate, yeah. We also had guys like Brian Christopher, Spellbinder Del Rios.
Super Bowl winner Jabari Greer.
Yeah, even Olympic gold medalist Summer Sanders. So we've got something there for everybody. The kids will enjoy it. The mom will enjoy it. Maybe not the mom.
Maybe not the kids.
Maybe not the
Good
kids.
God.
The language. So maybe just the male demographic, ages.
Maybe like 30 to 32.
Yeah, there you go. It's not a very strong demographic, but it's our demographic. We'll go back and check out those archives on iTunes by typing in P3 Radio, all one word. You'll find us pop up there.
Or you can go on your podcast apps like Podbean, Beyond Pod, wherever you can type in podcast apps at the Google Play Store, and you will find what you need to upload our show.
Once again, we'd like to thank Dr. Tom. For Josh Briley, this is Richard Mulligan saying thanks and good night.